Hello everybody and welcome to the third episode of the Nexus Chop Shop. With me today, as always, my lovely co-host Haas. And yeah, we invited a very special guest today for you guys. His name is Liquid Oxygen and he's a writer for Team Liquid. But why don't you introduce yourself to the audience, to the viewers here on Twitch and YouTube later on?
Yep, absolutely. Hi, my name is Oxygen. I write for Team Liquid, so we've got that part covered. I was a player on the Team Liquid roster for Heroes of Storm.
Sweet.
And I've been armchair designing heroes for about 8 years now, so this is I'd like to thank our hosts here for this opportunity to be able to
just
disseminate
another
some
day where
ideas.
Oxygen talks about new heroes, right? Just another day.
Well, yeah. All
So,
right, good.
but yeah, now that you mentioned it, that you've been a player for Team Liquid as well, haven't you been also one of the moderators in Dunk Train's channel?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Dong Train is a good friend of mine.
Yeah, cool.
I was a moderator for a long time. I was watching Dong Train back in his League of Legends days, where he'd get 2 or 3 viewers instead of the 400 he usually gets now for heroes. So
Awesome.
yeah, I got to watch his stream grow and everything. So that's great.
Cool. So, how's life over in the UK, Hoss?
It's getting better. I have to say the weather's slowly turning into spring. It's better than being cold. But apart from that,
You think it's cold?
Yeah,
it's horrible.
I can imagine that the weather over there in Quebec is a little bit more cold or colder than over here in
Yeah, but
Europe.
that's Canada, so yeah.
Yesterday was -40, just so you get an idea.
Holy cow.
But yeah, I've kind of been on like an NA time zone for the past few days or so. I've been doing NA HPL and NA Go for Heroes. So yeah, been covering those. So I've had very weird sleep schedules. I think Saturday it was. I went to bed at like 7 p.m., woke up at 11 just so I could cast, and then it ended up going back to sleep at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Awesome.
That was a fun day.
But yeah, normally, in my opinion, or in my humble opinion, the North American scene is always worth it because I find the games over there to be so not so much more, but a little bit more entertaining than the European games.
I completely agree with you on that one. That's why I put the hours in.
Yeah, totally.
It's interesting because Europe actually beat one of NA's best teams, huh?
Tempo Storm got to the semi-final. No, they got to the final of one of the Go4s. They knocked out LDLC at the time, who were arguably the best team in Europe, but then fell, I believe, 2-0. It might have been 2-1 to 3D Max. Who are now Gamers 2, yeah. They're now under Ocelot's wing.
Yeah. Pretty sick.
Okay.
It was really interesting to watch, and especially if you consider the fact that they probably had a worse ping than all the other teams.
Yep. I've been playing on NA and I get about 130 ping, so they're probably on some.
Yeah, you can tell different. I mean, it's not really that bad, but you can definitely tell that your heroes take longer to respond.
Yep.
The game could have gone both ways, right? Let's agree on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the chat was just...
We're still undecided on which region's better. Yeah.
Did you guys follow the chat? I think it was on Calder's channel, wasn't it? But did you guys follow that? It was amazing.
It was amazing in its own twisted way.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, without further ado, let's cut the chit-chat and move on to the stuff that really matters in this show. And that's, of course, going to be a new and potential champion designs or hero designs that may or may not enter or find their way into the game at some point if Blizzard decides to hear our calls. But yeah, so why don't you introduce the champion or the hero to the audience, Oxygen, because we're going to start off with you.
Okay, good.
Without actually telling them what the hero is going to be, just give them a few hints, just some bites they can chew on.
Okay. I guess he's part of the Diablo franchise.
Yep. Cool.
He's going to fulfill the role of a bruiser/tank. A bit like Sonya and Chen, I would say. Relatively close designs.
Yep.
He's been featured since 2007, so he's a relatively recent character in the franchise.
Has he actually been part of the Diablo 2 game or Diablo 2 franchise?
No, wasn't.
Right, no?
He was first appeared in one of the Diablo books, actually.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. But,
awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, by the way, guys, if you, by the way, guys, in the chat, so if you have a clue, if you have an idea, what that hero could be, then just spam it away and tell everybody else how cool you are. So no problem at all. So yeah, I think we gave away quite a bit of information already. So we're gonna lift the curtain then, shall we? Are you ready?
Of course.
Boom. That's such a sexy image as well, by the way. It's super cool.
Yes, absolutely.
And most of you guys will probably have recognized that gentleman already. It is, of course... Take it away, Oxygen.
Imperious Archangel of Valor.
Absolutely cool. So, just tell us a little bit about the idea, how you came up with it, and what made you choose Imperious, Archangel of Valor.
Well, Imperious, I think, has stricken everybody's heart with the newest Diablo 3 cinematics.
Yeah.
He is so badass, right? Everybody loves Tyrael. Tyrael's design is absolutely gorgeous. We saw him. He's been in our dreams ever since Diablo 2, like with the kind of fluorescent tentacle-like wings.
Absolutely.
And they created five more, I believe, angels like these, and Imperious was the leader of these angels. So he is bigger. He's bigger. He has fiery wings. He is wrathful. He is powerful. He's got everything that you want in an AOS character. I call it AOS, right? The term doesn't confuse anyone. Okay.
Yeah, AOS/MOBA. That's probably
exactly.
more
there we go.
well-known term. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, Oxy, I totally agree. Like when I first saw Imperious in the cinematics, I was like, oh my god, he's beefier, he's bigger, he's more badass than Tyrael ever was, and his duel with Diablo at the end. Oh my god,
it's crazy.
It had to be one of the craziest, coolest cinematics I've ever watched.
Mm-hmm. And you get to see him in Diablo 3 too. He just pops up and he like a big beam of light just splashes everything on the screen and just everything explodes. No blood, no bones. Everything just disintegrates. Like there's not even a trace of anything spacid. He just comes up like a big iron cannon. If you played Tiberian Sun or those old CNC games, and then everything's dead. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, this guy is awesome.
He definitely deserves the role of the leader or the commander-in-chief of the Angel forces, right? Super cool. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm sure that most of the viewers are as well. What you came up with. So you said already he's going to be a warrior/bruiser type of character, similar to Sonya.
Yep. I gave him stats that are extremely similar to Sonya. I won't go into too much detail about numbers.
Exactly. Yeah, so by the way, sorry to interrupt you here, but once again, I say that on every show so far, but we are trying to exclude numbers here because that would involve a lot of theory crafting, a lot of unnecessary discussion. We're just gonna, talk about the main ideas and the main, way the skills are gonna work.
Absolutely.
No concrete numbers like deals 125 damage.
Yeah, we don't need that anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You just figure that we're good at doing what we do, and then that we can balance numbers. And
Absolutely. So yeah, once again, feel free to start with whatever you like. Most of the time, people start off with the D, but you have to contain yourself, guys.
Yes. Well, the way that I like to start, I guess, is I can talk a bit about his stats.
Sure.
He is a tank, but I wanted to differentiate him from Tyrael in the sense that he does more damage and is less resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And his skill set, I think, is going to transpire this kind of a more aggressive stance, in that they have a tendency to be more about debuffing the enemy, as opposed to buffing yourself or protecting your allies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one important difference. And this, as I mentioned, is also shown through his stats. So he's got more base damage, more attack speed, less health, less regen.
Gotcha.
But that's all you need to really gather from this.
Cool. Yeah, so he excels at, causing havoc and confusion within the enemy lines rather than peeling for your carries.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I guess this is going to be this is going to be a theme, but you'll figure it out with one of the ultimate choices.
Yeah, cool. Take it away.
Yep. So let's start with the D, as you said. Yep. Your words, not mine. It is called Eternal Wrath.
Yep.
And it is a passive skill that will cause your abilities, your basic abilities, so your Q, W, E, to regenerate 1% faster. Well, now, numbers aren't important, but you'll get the idea.
Yeah.
For each 1% health that you are missing.
Sweet.
So,
nice.
What this does is that the lower your health is, the more often you can use your abilities.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
this skill is not only awesome, I think it's a great trait. I like it in the sense that it's going to be very fun to play. You're kind of on the edge of your seat when you're playing this character. You're trying to push it as much as possible. But there's also a very important thematic link that is being made with the hero. Because as we've seen in most of the cinematic, Imperius is very, he gets very angry.
Yeah.
He's very wrathful. He's the Archangel of Valor, but you see that maybe there's kind of a character dissonance here. Maybe he's not the best choice for leader for the Angiros Council, right?
Exactly. He gets hot-headed and
he gets
very reckless and lets himself get overwhelmed by emotion. So he's not rational in his fight, right?
Exactly, and this is exactly what I wanted to depict with this this trait here.
Cool. Awesome.
The more you fight, the crazier you get with your tank, the crazier you get, the more you're rewarded as the player.
Awesome.
And this, obviously this can be double-edged, right? If you go too deep, you're gonna die.
If you go too deep, then even your improved regeneration won't save you. So.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. So that's that. I guess that as a side note, I should mention that I gave his abilities, which I won't state the cooldowns, but I gave his abilities higher cooldowns than the average hero.
Okay.
Kind of as a counterpart. The abilities cooldown are balanced around him being at around 75% HP to be like on par with other heroes.
Gotcha.
So it feels like a bonus when you're really getting low, but otherwise it feels a bit like something that's holding you back. Shouldn't be too bad. Of course, it all depends with the tuning, and that all comes with gameplay testing, which is obviously impossible to do for obvious reasons.
But so far from what you've said, I would love to actually give this guy a playtest. Holy cow.
That's the feedback I've been receiving so far, and I appreciate, by the way.
Oh, you're totally welcome.
I mean, I make heroes that I would enjoy playing myself. So if I
imagine how cool he would look on the battlefield with the improved StarCraft 2 engine that we have in Heroes of the Storm. Absolutely. You know, his glittering wings, his insanely cool spear weapon, which we may actually talk about later on, but who knows? Okay, so
well, his spear does get featured in the next skill.
Oh, cool. Let's move on then. The Q.
Yes. So the Q is called Solarian's Might. The name was chosen as a counterpart to Tyrael's own Q skill, which is Eldruin's Might.
Yep.
So the skill name for angels, I guess I could start a trend where their skill uses their weapon name as a
awesome,
skill. It is a 3-step attack chain. So what this means is that whenever you cast the skill, if you cast it again, you get a different skill out of this. So you can cast it up to 3 times, and each of the 3 times, you get a different skill out of this. The skills are very similar. The first cast is simply a very short dash that'll stop at your first target to deal some relatively insignificant damage.
So you have the ability to close gaps already.
Absolutely.
Which is something that I really like.
It's a small gap closer, around the range of Tychus's, if you've played Tychus at all. So relatively short, very quick, and it's kind of something you see in the one of the cinematic. You kind of see him dash like Hespar, like he turns into a light beam and dashes towards Diablo.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really cool.
Absolutely.
The second step has him rake in a cone in front of him, so 180 degree in front of him is cleaved. He does a big swing with a spear and then cleaves everything in front of him. Does more damage and slows enemies for a short duration, so it gives him some of that sticking potential that tanks need.
Yep, but just keep in mind, right? You can only use the second and the third skill after you've used the first one. So,
yes, absolutely.
So you have to chain those together into
It's
a
really
combo.
part of the same skill. It must, in terms of the way that it should be implemented, they should feel very natural to chain together. Like you just press Q, 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 and then bam, 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 and just all go. Rapid fire.
Kind of like Riven's Q from League then. Just one after the other, just combining together to work really well.
That's the best comparison you can make. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sweet.
And the third skill, or the third part of the skill rather, would be a 360 degree sweep around you. So he just takes his spear and lets it go a while around him. Does more damage than the 2 other parts of the chain, and it also acts as a micro stun. So 0.5 second stun for that good channeling interruption utility.
Yeah, awesome. So you always get a sort of reward when you seek to go into the heat of battle, right? You get those mini stuns off, you get those slows, your teammates can catch up, you can maybe even interrupt the channel. Awesome stuff.
Yep, and it's very disrupting, and it makes you want to attack him. which maybe you don't want to.
And I can just see the beautiful synergy here going on. Maybe a Tassadar, shield him so he can spam his stuff even more and survives a little bit longer. So many cool options here. Maybe a Rhaegar with that lightning shield.
Yeah.
That's the one I had in mind. Yep.
Yeah.
Or even with Abathur. Oh god.
Oh,
Oh,
super
boy.
cool.
You're dead.
Yeah.
So that is that for my Q first skill. I guess we should move on to the other one.
Yep. Let's do the W.
Okay. This one is called Ultimatum. And what it does is that the target, whatever you target, is going to take a small amount of damage over time, over a certain duration. And this target, when it is debuffed by this skill, does 20% less damage to everything but Imperius.
Gotcha.
And while this is active, Imperius takes 20% less damage from everything but the target. So it is some kind of, how could I call it? I could call it a soft CC skill. Soft
yeah,
run
maybe
skill.
a soft CC, maybe some sort of soft taunt, because basically
soft taunt,
you force the opponent to attack nobody else than Imperius if he wants to deal the full damage of his skills.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
His auto attacks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you would call it. I had this idea from Warhammer Online, where taunt skills would cause your target to deal less damage to everything but...
I've played that. I've been a sword master of Horth, by the way, and it was beautiful.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. So you know exactly how this works. And yeah, you can. I mean, it's a fun skill. You can use it against someone that's using their ultimate, and suddenly the Nazebo is doing 20% less damage to everyone but you.
Yeah.
Pretty big blow. So it is. You can use it preemptively or reactively. Rather easy to use. The only thing you need to do is really choose your target wisely. So
and you could add a really cool in-game graphics effect on that, right?
Yeah.
So the target gets marked by some shining light on them or something. They could be burning with holy flames or something.
Well, I was talking about this skill with one of my friends yesterday, and my initial idea would be kind of a very ethereal kind of looking golden chain going between the target and you.
Cool.
And then my friend came up and suggested this. He said, what if the screen, or what if every other hero on the screen became darker for your enemy that's being targeted, but Imperius would kind of light up in this holy light so that you kind of want to click him.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a little bit of a nerdgasm here because I just imagine that being so awesome. Holy cow.
Yes.
And if anyone at Blizzard is watching this or listening, I think they're definitely going to take notes right now.
Oh, I when I heard this, I was like, oh my god, why didn't I not think about this? Screen-wide effects isn't really something you think about, right? But this is something they've been doing with Abathur.
And I mean, exactly. They've been doing that with Malfurion Silence and at least the sound-wise, right? Sound-wise.
Yeah, it's all like muffled, right? It's amazing. Yeah. I love that. And I felt like something similar could really like add a lot of to that skill, right?
Absolutely. Cool. Awesome.
Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, quite simple skill, but has a lot of can do a lot of stuff with it. So versatile, simple to understand, high skill cap. Yeah, I mean,
use it at the right moment. Don't just spam it at the beginning of the battle. You may want to keep that for later on. So you really have to time your skills wisely here.
Yep.
Off to the E then.
Yep. Next up, what do we have? Censure. Am I pronouncing this right? I accidentally words.
Sounds good to me. What about the native speaker here, Mr. Haas?
How's it spelled? Or I'll
no,
say it
how
on
you say
screen.
it? Yeah,
What?
censure, right? When
Like
when you silence someone, you call that censure. When you
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing it on screen, yeah. Censure.
Gotcha.
Okay, great. Okay. Let's read it. I guess I'll just read it.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Prevent the next source of damage that you would take within the next 2 seconds. Dealing blah damage to nearby enemies and silencing them for blah seconds if damage was prevented through this skill. So, how do I rephrase this? You activate this, Solarian comes up, kind of puts up a spear in front of him.
Yeah.
That's kind of a protective move. Gets a kind of small shield around him, and if you attack him in this state, he just lashes out. And if you've seen the cinematic where he's like, silence!
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got this big voice, and I picture something like this happening, and everything around him gets silenced and takes a small amount of damage.
So what would be the range of that counterattack when he blocks something?
Relatively short.
Uh-huh.
Probably.
So definitely melee range.
Yeah, it's definitely melee range. You want him to be in there. I was against giving him a range skill, but Ultimatum turns out that it was, the way that it functioned was better at range. But I wanted him to really feel like you want to be in there, and you really want to be careful with your positioning. Probably the range of ETC's AoE kind of spin where
Yeah,
it
fair
pushes
enough.
everything
I think
out.
that's okay.
Yep.
So even if you charge in and you dash in with a Q, you could still get one of the carries, for example, if you
Yep.
close the gaps and he's not quick enough to dash away or run away, whatever. You can definitely get that off. So super cool.
Absolutely. Very simple skill. It helps your tankiness a little bit, and it remains in the theme of kind of working through debuffing your enemies as opposed to protecting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we've seen that tanks that don't have a specific defensive skills fare very poorly. Sorry, Sonia.
Yeah.
So I had to give him a little something that would kind of at least prevent him or give him a defensive niche.
And maybe one more thing to keep in mind here. Would you be able to block the skill entirely, or would you take damage and just... how would it work? Like, could you keep the enemy spell from going off, like a spell shield in other MOBAs? Or would the ultimate, for example, or the skill still go off, but just not deal damage and have a cooldown on them?
No, the way that I saw it is that your skills would go off normally.
Okay.
It's just that they would be denied the damage and effect
Gotcha.
or only the damage rather, and not the effect on Imperius only.
Mm-hmm.
So if Nova uses her ult, right, the big laser beam.
Yeah.
Gosh, what's
Yeah.
it called? Precision strike.
Yep.
You wouldn't take damage from this, but nearby allies would.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So it does have some amazing implication against high cooldown, high burst skills.
Yeah. Or for example, if Thrall decided to sunder you with his ultimate,
Yeah.
you would still take the stun, but not the
Yep.
damage, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Cool.
You'd still hear that silent scream you want to hear.
Yeah. Awesome. And that would actually be super sick against Thrall, because then he probably wouldn't be able to heal himself as rapidly, and
Absolutely.
awesome sauce. I like it.
Yep.
Nice.
Debuffs. Debuffs.
Debuffs for days.
Yep. And keep in mind that the more damage you take, the lower the cooldown on this skill is going to be. So
That's actually right. You can't forget
Yep.
about
Yeah.
that. The lower the cooldown, or the lower the HP, the lower the cooldown,
Yep.
and the more you're going to be able to spam those taunts, with the W or the ability block or ability damage block on the E.
Yep. How are we doing on time, by the way? I'm not taking.
Oh, we're
too much-
totally fine. We're totally fine.
Okay, good. I just sometimes I just
Fine.
start talking, and I love what I do. So
Oh, we can definitely tell the passion
Yes,
that you
yes.
have about it, and that's great.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's go on to our first ultimate, I suppose, or I guess we should call them heroic skill, but
Yep.
everybody
Yeah.
calls them ultimate skills.
Heroic skill number 1.
Yeah, heroic skill number 1, Heavenfall. I'll just read it again.
Yeah.
Rapidly ascend and then descend upon target location, dealing blah damage to nearby enemies. Can be used again if you hit an enemy hero up to 3 times within X seconds of the initial cast.
Sweet.
So we've all seen that cinematic with Imperius just going up in the air, boom, like instantly goes up in the air and descends upon target location, dealing like just in this kind of
Yeah.
crash, like you see the ground crack under him. he's breaking his cathedral. He doesn't care. Just comes down very rapidly.
It was amazing, yeah. So
Oh.
I have a question right away when I see that
Yeah.
description of the skill. So if you decide to go with Heavenfall on Imperius and you ascend up to the heavens and you crash down, are you going to be intargetable during that period of time, or could they stop you mid-air, so to speak?
The way that I saw it is that it's so quick that trying to stop it isn't really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if
But
I
you
had
could
to
dodge
say,
a skill shot, for example.
Yes, absolutely. The same way you can use Zero Tools Blink to dodge a skill shot.
Mhm.
The same way you can use Bolt of the Storm to stop a skill shot.
Sweet.
It's not quite as fast as these things because you do have the animation of him like going up in vapor and holy light and then just coming down like in this holy kind of mess that he becomes, and then crashing down. So it's a bit slower than this.
Now,
But otherwise, he would
imagine
be-
a picture. You're
Yeah.
playing on Blackheart's Bay, and you all know the little gaps on the bridge, for example, the water gaps.
Oh, boy.
Could you jump on an enemy who's, for example, on the bridge, and you are on the shore, like right in front of
Yes.
him, and
Yes,
you
I
jump
think-
over the bridge, hit him, jump back,
Yep.
That would be incredibly cool.
Absolutely, and it does reward you for using it offensively. That's something that one of my friends brought up again, another friend, because I love sharing my stuff.
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, I'm concerned that the skill would be too good for escaping. Like, it's kind of going to be used like metamorphosis, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a design issues I find with Illidan, where he uses the invulnerability frames on his skills to kind of have a failsafe escape. And I thought, okay, well, how do we solve that? Make it rewarding to hit enemies with it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So you have to hit something hostile, otherwise you don't have the cooldown on it, or the ability to recast it.
Yep, absolutely.
So you could use it as a one-time escape, or as a triple sort of engage damage dealing source.
Damage or positioning, just sit on that carry. Oh, Vala, you're vaulting away? Well,
I'm jumping on you.
What's that? Sorry. Oh, you have 2 volts?
Volt, blink, I'm still on you.
Blink, yeah, exactly.
Hey, Zeratul, you want to get away? Ain't gonna happen.
Oh, you're wormholing back? No.
Get out of here, you.
What are you doing? Absolutely.
Very nice,
so,
very nice.
yeah, it does have this really aggressive theme, which I want with him. It's a simple skill, and it's easy to learn, unlike the other skill that we're going to follow up with.
Yeah, talking about it, then we can, I think, move on to the second one.
Absolutely. Now, I did change this skill recently.
Oh,
I don't know if you have the newest version.
Well,
so
I looked
maybe...
it up yesterday or today.
Okay.
So.
That should be the latest version then. We're talking about Divine Covenant.
Oh, I still have Blaze in there.
Okay, so Blaze is gone.
Oh, gotcha.
It's in the changelog because, yes, I keep a changelog of the stuff I do.
Okay, cool.
Blaze is gone.
But you know what? We actually have 3 heroic abilities then, so it's even cooler for the viewers at home, right?
Okay, well,
so they can read the Blaze skill on their screens right now. So why don't you just go over the recent one? Then?
Okay. And I'll talk about why I removed Blaze in a second. So Divine Covenant, you infuse target allied hero, and you force them to use your abilities. So your Q, your W, your E, the version that Imperius has. You force your allies to use the skills as you would for a duration. So say, let's have an example here. You're targeting your ally. You have a Diablo on your team. Well, you use your Q towards an enemy. Well, Diablo is also coming with you. He's using the Q in the same way that you...
Even if his cooldown would be, or if his skill would be on cooldown, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Awesome
it's really,
sauce. Oh my god.
It's a dive buddy. He's going balls deep with you. And he kind of gets the way that you would kind of do this. You would kind of get like a copy of Solarian to float kind of around your target for the Q skill, because Solarian, that's one thing that we see in the cinematic is that Imperius can kind of control weapons. There's weapons on the floor, he just lifts them up and then shoots them
I remember
whatever
that.
he wants and gets like a couple thousand kills like that. So the target would also use the skills as you would, and like you're using your Q, you're dashing towards something, your allies dashing with you. You're using that swoosh in front of you, you're using that cleave, that 360, that's happening with your ally.
Yeah.
You're blocking a skill, your ally also blocks the following skill and silences everything around him. And you're using ultimatum on something, you're challenging something, and your ally is also challenging that same target.
So just to make that sure for people at home, the targeted allied hero would use Imperius' skill, not their own.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. And as you would, so you're, in a sense, you're kind of controlling your ally. For a short duration.
Yeah.
And thematically, I wanted something that went with his kind of leadership.
Gotcha.
And
his recklessness,
sense,
right? He doesn't care
absolutely.
if the ally wants to join him or not. He just says, "Go with me, bro, and let's do this."
That's it. That's his recklessness, kind of his hot-headedness. He just, of course, there's not much controlling the ally. The only thing that's really controlling for them is the Q skill, where they're dashing towards a location they don't necessarily want to dash to. But other than that, it shouldn't be that hindering to your ally, if at all. Yeah. That's the only thing that could really kind of make a little bit of a difference. And the idea here is that if you're using this, you're in tune with that person that you're playing with.
Yeah.
So they understand what's going on. They understand what's happening. In the same sense that you need to be in tune with someone that's using Void Prison, right?
Yeah, we've just had somebody in the chat saying, I would totally use that on Abathur.
Well, there you go, right? I guess it wouldn't be that problematic because Abathur's pretty far back.
Yeah.
And, of course, but yeah, you can use it on Abathur and send him out this much outside the base, and you'll have to...
Then he's just going to deep tunnel back in anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So yeah,
Yeah.
wow, amazing. So we had the chance to actually have 3 possible potential heroic abilities on Imperius. So the one that you've just heard from Liquid himself. Then we had the Heavenfall and the Blaze that is on the screen but hasn't made it into his final build.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I guess I could give a word about Blaze. Blaze is cool. You see him burning like a wide area in the cinematic, which is
Yeah.
something that I wanted to bring forth. And that's the way I work. I do skill iterations, and like I'll come back. I still come back on some of my 6 months old designs, and I just start changing skills over and over because I'm not satisfied with them. And this is a skill that kind of it's a fine skill, but thematically it was kind of lacking. I like the idea of destroying enemy projectiles,
Yeah.
and I like the idea of creating like a kind of a dead zone that you don't want to stand in. But ultimately, that's good fun. Yes, I didn't feel like that belonged on Imperius as a skill.
Yeah. Because if you consider his character, he would probably take the arrows and rather take the pain rather than trying to use cowardly tactics, whatever.
Exactly,
So, yeah.
absolutely. And I think that going in with one of your allies is just this much more badass.
Yeah, and it would totally add a new feature to the game, a new mechanics.
Yep.
And the amounts of combos and plays you could get in competitive play, especially, where people are sort of synchronized. Incredible.
I want to see it.
I would
Blizzard,
totally do
I want to
that.
see it.
Blizzard, please.
And yes, what skill would you guys choose? Which ultimate would you choose?
I think I would totally try both of them, but the more comfortable I would feel in Imperius, the more I would lean towards the Divine Covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a balls deep player. I go ham. I would go Heavenfall because it's always a get out of jail free card as well in there.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I'd be one of those guys that just dive straight for the back line, and then I'll leave my carry there, while I just hop straight back out of the battle. I'm like, yeah, see ya.
Yes.
Super cool, yeah.
I'm not tanking anymore. That's the kind of player I am.
You someone talked about Dunk Train earlier, and Divine Covenant is actually his idea.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Well,
absolutely.
shout out to Mr. Dunkchain then for having an awesome idea.
Yep.
Awesome.
I talked this over with him. He is an actual game designer, or before he became a professional player, he worked at Company X, which I won't name.
Yeah.
Designing your game, and that's where we met. I was beta testing his game,
Cool.
Nice.
which was a MOBA. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's that, and
Yeah, awesome.
things being what they are. Yeah, and he saw this and he said maybe you could use a better ultimate. So I was like, yeah, I completely agree, and that was his pitch.
So yeah, now that we've pretty much been talking about Imperius, I'm starting to sweat a little bit because next turn is or next in line is going to be my hero. So yeah, once again, the Red Curtain. I'm gonna take things away and say that he is from the Warcraft universe. So I always like to have, one hero out of each of the Blizzard or the main Blizzard universes here on the show. So yeah, Warcraft is where we're at. And he is a fan favorite, if I may say so. He has a very cool way of talking. He is rocking a mohawk. At least I think so. Yeah, he should be. And he is the current war chief of the Horde. So I think now most of you guys who have played Warcraft or World of Warcraft should know who I'm talking about. So we can lift the... Do you guys know? Oh, of course you know, because I told you.
I saw it, but I would have guessed.
Yeah, awesome sauce. So yeah, let's lift the curtain and behold the wonderful, beautiful face of our favorite troll. It is, of course, Vol'jin. So yeah, I came up with Vol'jin because, simply put, there aren't any trolls in Heroes of the Storm as of now.
Well, there are a lot of trolls in the player base.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
I was gonna say there's me, but
Yeah. Yeah, but not like trolls,
Yeah, not an actual troll.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that the trolls are amongst the most favored races in the fan base. So I know a lot of players who love the troll characters in World of Warcraft. The way they talk, that Rastafari, Jamaican flavor that they have around them is really appealing to many people.
yeah, man.
Yo, man, exactly. And so, yeah, as you all know, Vol'jin is a Shadow Hunter. We've had the class in Warcraft 3 already as a neutral hero that you could hire in the tavern. So I got a little bit inspired by that, but I also read about his abilities in the wiki, did some research there, and I actually read a lot of things that I didn't know at first hand. For example, that Shadowhunters were able to cast lightning spells as well and all the good stuff. So pretty similar to the Shaman in some points.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, so the general playstyle of Vol'jin is all about, you know, manipulating your opponent. So you want to play mind tricks on them. You want to force them into something they maybe wouldn't have done. And you also want to deal super cool forms of damage. Like not the typical burst, I'm going to burst you down or I'm going to out-sustain you, you know, but some really cool tricks of how to deal damage. So yeah, let's move on to the next scene. And once again, we're going to start off with this passive, aka the D. Yeah, the D is called here, Vol'jin's D is called the Dark Mojo. And what it does, it actually uses health globes that spawn from the magician minions on the map or from mercenary camps. He's using them not only to gain regeneration, like health regeneration, mana regeneration, but also to get his resource or one of his main resources, which is like called Dark Mojo. So whenever you pick up a health globe, you get a stack of Dark Mojo, and Dark Mojo makes you stronger. It gives you some stat boosts. I'm not really sure what stats we could use. For example, armor or movement speed, or even increase just simply the health regeneration even more. I think you can work around that, but I think a little bit of defensive stats and a little bit of sustain stats. Not necessarily damage stats, because I think that could be too broken too quickly. Especially on a DPS champ like Vol'jin. By the way, I want him to be either a specialist or an assassin.
Okay.
One thing that that's not concerning, but one question that I have is how dependent might he be upon that resource? Because obviously health globes only spawn every 45 seconds or so, and it's also possible for your enemies to deny you from taking health globes. How do you feel about this?
So you wouldn't need it to cast abilities, because I want him to use mana. So basically, the health globe bar or the stacks is pretty much similar to Diablo's soulstones. Or souls. And you need those for a heroic ability later on, if you want to go with one, the heroic ability that uses Mojo. But overall, it's just like a little stat boost, right? It's comparable to Thresh in League of Legends, where he picks up souls and he gets a little bit beefier, a little bit stronger, but it's not like he needs those to cast skills.
Absolutely. Okay. Good. I see.
Okay.
That explains it.
I can also see that being like having like a pocket pick in the draft phase, where if you know the map's going to be something like Garden of Terror.
Exactly. If you want those maps where a lot of health globes are going to spawn, exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe Dragonshire, where you can just rotate between mid and bottom lane constantly.
Yeah. Taking all the Merc camps.
Exactly. So let's move on then to the Q skill, which is called Wyvern Spirit. So basically, if you use that skill, it summons a Wyvern Spirit to attack your current target. So basically, a little bit like Lily's Dragon. So it attacks the same target as you do, and deals just a little bit of tiny extra damage. You can, that's a theme that I wanted to go with Vol'jin. You can use the skills again to cancel them and then unlock a new effect. So for example, you have that Wyvern Spirit flying next to you, and if you don't want it anymore, or you want to get the second effect, so to speak, then you cast it again, you press the Q button again, and then you can shoot it to a location on the map, and it'll fly there and scout.
Okay, so similar to
like
Tyrant's Owl?
Exactly, but it doesn't deal damage that way, so it's a little bit weaker.
Okay, so it's got that versatility at the cost of raw damage and stat.
Exactly, yeah. So you don't want to be a super bursty class, but you have versatility for that.
Okay, great.
Okay. So let's move on to the W then. It's called Painful Dance. Vol'jin haunts an enemy, or even enemy targets, because it's a small radius. And everybody, like minions and heroes alike, who are in the radius, will have their movement speed slightly increased. So it's actually like, it may look like a buff on first hand, but these targets will take damage when they move.
Ah, okay.
Similar to the buff from the Bloodseeker from Dota, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Some of my friends always call him Strawberry because his name was just incredibly hard to pronounce.
I think everybody had a different name for him. I just called him Gibberish because that comes off as gibberish to me.
Yeah, exactly. So when those marked opponents, when they move, they're going to take a little bit of damage. Not too much, but enough to make them think twice about it.
Think twice about moving. Okay.
Yeah, and you can cast that again to remove that buff or the increased movement speed and then slow them and gain a Mojo Globe. So you use that again, and one of the enemies who have been affected from heroes who have been affected from that, they're actually going to spawn a Mojo Globe. Not the minions, because that would be OP.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. They're interesting. I like this kind of intertwined synergy that you've got going there, and it doesn't feel forced.
Yeah.
And the globe can actually, if it spawned a health globe, it could actually be useful to your entire team.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. That reminds me a bit of the what's it called? The Grimrock design from Bloodline Champions. Have you played?
Oh, I haven't played Bloodline Champions, unfortunately. So
I recognize the name, but never played it.
Okay. It's kind of an arena-based MOBA, I guess. I guess the name MOBA is much better than it is for Heroes of the Storm, because it's an actual MOBA. Like it's
you are in an arena.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And you've got this kind of voodoo hero that does that can cast his skills on something or consume his skills to have a bigger impact. Cool. And I just always love the Grimrock. Is amazing. So that you're intertwining here.
Awesome. Yeah, I did that without
this
even
kind of
knowing
idea
the game,
absolutely is great.
Cool.
That's great. Yeah.
So yeah, let's move on to my personal favorite skill. It's the E. It's called Mimic. And you curse a target hero. So this is single target, not AoE. And you force this hero to mimic your movements. So you enchant him, and if you move to the right, that enemy champion is also going to move to the right. And he can't use skills during that period, but neither can you. So you guys are in some sort of telepathy stasis, but you can auto-attack. Which is especially cool against melee heroes, because you can range attack him with your auto attacks, but he can't reach you. And you can move away, for example, if a tank engages you, like Murden jumps at you. You use Mimic, and then you run away, and then he would also run away from you.
Oh, that sounds fun.
So yeah, it's really fun.
Nice.
And the synergy with the W is also really cool. Like you use your W, you get that debuff. Your opponent doesn't want to move, but you use E to make him move.
You're forcing them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you can also cast that again, and pretty much to cancel the effect, right? If you want to cast spells which you can't during the E, then you just cancel it and do your normal spells. And it'll also spawn a Mojo Globe from the affected person or hero. So yeah, I think that's pretty funny, and it's like, you know, Vol'jin and the Shadowhunters, they're some sort of voodoo type of guys, so they want to dance, they're doing some weird rituals, you know, with you, and I thought that to be very good. And it reminded me of a voodoo doll as well, so maybe we can do a voodoo doll symbol above his head, or to signify that.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset now, because I've been wanting to work with a voodoo hero concept for a long time.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I've never... there was still something missing, so maybe that's where it was.
Well, feel free to use it, man. It's not copyright infringed or something.
Yeah, not until it makes it into the game, right?
Yep. Then I want all the money, you know, all the fame.
All right. You'll get the money. Okay, fair
gotcha.
enough.
Okay, yeah, heroic ability numero uno. It's going to be called Snake Ritual, and it is very similar to Rasta from Dota. But not quite. So I wanted to create a circle, like a big AoE area, in which serpent's wards would spawn at random. So you couldn't really control it, but they would pop fairly quickly. And then they would attack nearby enemies at random. So you couldn't control the snakes, but there would be so many of them that eventually you're going to hit the target that you want to hit. And also the range would be fairly high. So if, for example, the ranged carries move away, then you would have the focus fire of all the serpent wards on a tank, which would be pretty fatal for them. So it would also force the enemy team to sort of reposition themselves so that one target wouldn't get hit by all the snakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it would just be a really, really fun thing to do, like having massive snakes all around, shooting bolts or poison, whatever, at the enemies. And you wouldn't even have to do anything, right? It would all be automatic. You wouldn't have to sort of hit your skills or something. It would just be, you know, a nice ultimate to shoot in and then take care of your, or deal with your other skills.
Yeah, you could force someone to walk into them.
Yeah, exactly.
Very pointful.
Yeah,
that reminds me of that interaction in Dota with the Voodoo Hunter, Shadow Hunter, where he doesn't force people to walk into stuff, but he spawns some wards and then he can root someone in them.
Yeah, he can root them or lock them in with the wards themselves.
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I didn't want to
And,
do that
yeah.
because I found it to be pretty annoying and frustrating
Yeah,
for the enemy team. So
it is.
I would rather have an area with random wards, and then you can, as you said, Oxygen is actually a very good point. Then use your E to make them move towards the snakes.
Okay, good. Because
Nice.
oh god, that's such a terrible experience.
Yeah, and
I think everybody's been there at least once.
everybody who's been playing Dota actually knows what you're talking about, I think. So, yeah, heroic ability number 2, and this is the one that gets really interesting considering the Dark Mojo. So it's called Hoodoo Voodoo, and pretty much Vol'jin transforms himself into a shadow form, similar like a shadow priest, because many, in Hearthstone, for example, he's in the priest deck. So he's a card in the priest deck, so I thought if he had some priest elements in there, maybe that would please a lot of players. So yeah, pretty much he gets into shadow form. His auto attacks will be greatly improved, so he will get life leech with them and also have increased attack speed. So pretty much he transforms himself into a really hyper carry with this ultimate. But also every auto attack will consume 1 stack of Dark Mojo.
Oh,
So you can't just stay in there infinitely and
Yeah.
just don't care about anything at all, but you will have to pay attention to your Dark Mojo stacks. And maybe if you activate that ultimate, you get a new bar that makes it more visible or better visible how many stacks you've got left.
yeah.
And
Kind of the, I guess the life bar in Guild Wars 2, if you've played that.
similar to that, exactly, yeah.
Okay, great.
could
Okay.
work.
I love that effect.
Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing this up.
Or maybe
it's
your
amazing.
mana bar would turn into a purple bar or would have
Yeah,
a purple bar
yeah.
underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was picturing.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, really pretty much like a contrast to the other one. The other one is more maybe team fight based, and the second ultimate is more about you becoming a badass. So,
And who
Different-
doesn't like being a badass?
exactly, who doesn't like that? And just imagine, once again, the synergy with the E, right? You use
Yep.
Hoodoo Voodoo, get an auto attack or become an auto attack monster, and then just hit your poor opponent all the time.
I'm okay with that.
So yeah, I actually like the
Yeah.
question that you've been asking Oxygen earlier. Which ultimate would you prefer, or which ultimate would you like to pick?
I guess it depends on the team comp.
Yeah,
If I have
as
something
always
that
in
can,
heroes most of the time.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does. If I have something that's improving my attack speed, I'll definitely go the this one that's just talked about.
Yeah, the Hoodoo
Whereas
Voodoo.
if I feel more reliant upon dealing AoE damage, or kind of wombo combo, I guess, would
Yeah.
benefit a lot from the wards.
Exactly, wombo
Yeah.
combo potential definitely given. What about you, Haas?
Yeah, so again, you've it's based on the team comp, because you can either go for if you've got a pick comp, then of course Hoodoo Voodoo just increase the burst on one hero, so something maybe like, you don't really see it anymore, but a Brightwing or a Nova again, you don't really see it anymore. I'm having trouble coming up with hero examples.
Jaina and Tarrant have.
Yeah.
buff.
Jaina, Tyrande, yeah, those pick comp stitches. Then yeah, but if you're going AoE, so maybe like Nazebo, although I doubt you'd probably run Nazebo and Vol'jin in the same comp. But yeah, if you're going more AoE, then certainly Snake Ritual, like Snake Ritual plus a Zeratul Void Prism.
Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely.
dangerous. Yeah,
They sound good.
or maybe a Putrid Bile as your front line.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're stuck
or a
in there.
Brightwing with Emerald Wind pushing the others
Yeah.
away so you can focus on one target, right?
Yeah.
Move that down.
Yeah, be
Super
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my Vol'jin for you guys. Hope you liked it. And
Did you
we're
have,
yeah.
I guess before you're done,
Mhm.
obviously you took a lot less time than I had. Did
Oh,
you have
that's
any
totally fine, dude.
Did you have any ideas for talents?
I think you could definitely work on the Dark Mojo, like improving the Dark Mojo, maybe increase the capacity of the amount of Dark Mojos you can have, or maybe increase the passive bonus, like give you more armor or more movement speed or more health regeneration, whatever you have for the Dark Mojo passive. Also, maybe, let's see, an improved version of the E. For example, you could have a level 20 skill or a level 16 skill where when you use your E, it actually spawns on another random nearby enemy target, so you can control 2 people for a short duration.
Okay,
Something along those lines, I think.
so things that would make your skills, I guess, not necessarily more versatile, but more give them more impact, more team-wide impact.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe spawn 2 Vibrant Spirits and you can shoot them in different directions for
Yeah,
more...
they go in opposite directions, or maybe in a certain angle.
Yeah, exactly.
So many things you can do. So.
That's the great thing about Hero of the Storm, man. You can just
Yeah.
do so many cool things with the hero kits, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing.
Whereas in other MOBAs, you're always limited to the items. And if you change an item, that's actually a big deal for everybody. So,
Yep. You want to nerf someone, you have to change the items. Ugh.
Yeah.
You have
And
to
then
change
And
the
the,
directly
and the
nerfs
fan base
everyone.
is going to rage at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Tie DFG. So.
Welcome to League's jungle right now.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool. So, Hoss,
yeah.
enter the
Best till
stage.
last again.
It's all
Best till
yours.
last again. Yep. So, again, I look at the opportunity for a hero as what does the game need. So last week I did a Diablo support.
Yep.
This week I'm going to go for a StarCraft support.
A real
because-
StarCraft.
Yeah, a real support that isn't Tacita.
Oh.
So yeah, obviously, out of the 3 races, I've gone for a Terran. So you can probably guess where this one's going already. But,
You like your Terrans, Hoss, don't you?
yeah, I've done 2 StarCraft and both have been Terrans.
Yeah, I like it.
We need some Zerg up in here. That's my challenge for the coming
I
week.
think I've guessed your
Okay.
hero. You said a support, Terran,
Yeah.
Phoenix, right?
No.
Okay. All
I
right.
went for Lisa Cassidy, the medic.
Yep. So there we go. Beautiful picture. Probably the most beautiful of all the heroes so far. Or the most pretty.
Well, I've got
You
to
don't
win
know what's
somehow.
under that hood for Imperius, though. Could be.
Oh, you never know, man.
Could be go.
So yeah, let's. So I've got.
Yeah, so what inspired
Yeah.
you to create that hero design? What made you pick her?
Yeah.
What's the general playstyle going to be? Just go ahead. Yeah.
So again, it was more of what does the game need. I've tried to keep it pretty simple, basic playstyle, nothing too much. Similar to say something like Valor, where it's easy for new players to come in, pick up and play, and really get an understanding of the support role
Gotcha.
and what you're really meant to be doing. So aiding your team mainly is the big one here. And yeah, that's kind of what I've gone for. So I guess I'll start off with the trait. I'm not going to call it a D, it's a trait.
Oh, she does not have a D, man. So we're just going to call it a
Oh.
trait.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So regeneration.
Yep, here we go.
I did all the skills first, and then realized that I hadn't included a trait. So I really thought, what could she give, right, to help her team out? And Malfurion already kind of has something like this with his, I believe it's Innovate, where he gives mana.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've called this one Regeneration. Every X amount of seconds, I've said 20, you can activate a beam of light upon an ally, increasing their HP and mana regen over a period of time. So again, it's increasing that lane sustain, really helping your carries, focusing on the lane phase more so than the team fights. But of
Gotcha.
course, in an extended team fight, it's going to aid at least one person. And thinking of talents, you could maybe save like 2 charges, which regenerate every 20 seconds and build up. So something like that when you're thinking of maybe tri-lanes
Yeah.
in there, because that's a pretty big thing in the
So,
meta.
one question, sorry to interrupt you, bro,
Yep.
but one question that popped up in my head was immediately, what happens to heroes like Illidan that don't have
Illidan.
mana? What would he benefit from? Only the health regeneration? Or could you maybe get a talent
I'd
later
assume
on?
So, I know, because Illidan just has health.
Yeah,
So it
or
would
maybe
just be-
Shen, who has a brew,
Yeah.
for example.
Chen.
Sonya, Chen,
Yeah,
Illidan,
Sonya, Chen.
Abathur,
So
Murky. Yeah.
I guess in theory you could maybe get a talent around something like level 7,
Gotcha.
which then transfers across to those.
And maybe
Yeah.
gives them increased
Yeah.
attack speed for a short
Yeah,
amount of time,
maybe,
or
like,
maybe a
if-
cooldown reduction bonus.
If your target doesn't have mana, then yeah, you get a cooldown reduction on the cooldown of regeneration is halved or something like that,
Gotcha. Okay.
rather than actually giving it back, so you can actually use it again and again.
Cool.
So yeah, moving on to the Q.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone for Optic Flare. Launch grenade
Oh,
to a
yeah.
target location, dealing damage and blinding targets, making their next attack miss.
Gotcha.
Also, something you could go for with this as well, as we were talking about earlier with the visual effects, you can maybe blind
Yeah.
out the corners of the screen, make it a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit darker there, kind of like Graved Smoke Screen in League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can certainly apply
Love
this
those.
here. And
Absolutely.
maybe because it's more of a flare than smoke, it'd be like really bright rather than dark.
Maybe like a flashbang, right?
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
flashback from CSGO, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Cool.
Yes.
I mean, it reminds me of Lily's E a little bit, but
Yeah.
I
But
think it shouldn't be too hard to make it look cooler than Lily's E,
Yeah.
because it's probably
Well-
like one of the least dramatic skills in the whole game right now.
Yeah, Lily is the
that's
least
just
dramatic
Lily's
hero.
skills in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the most you're going to get out of her is her water dragon. But with this, it's more of like an AOE. So think maybe Tychus grenade size.
Yeah, and
maybe
you
a little bit
control it
bigger.
a lot better. You can control it a lot better than Lily
so
can, right?
You could really blind an entire team if they were bad and stacking up.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really going for that. Yes, it's got damage to it,
Mhm.
but also if they're going for maybe a Reign of Valor kind of composition of Valor Tychus, you can really reduce their damage quite significantly in a team
Gotcha.
fight.
Cool.
How about that Imperious Tychus team comp?
Yeah.
You think of this
Yeah.
one? No?
Well, for my W, I've gone for kind of a buffed version of Relentless here, because Relentless, obviously, it's a 13 talent. Sometimes it's a little bit late on in the game for heroes to get that, so I've gone for something called Be Careful. Give your target a 75% reduction of CC for the next 4 seconds, I said. Again,
Yeah.
numbers can change.
Numbers
but
can be
pretty-
adjusted, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty
Numbers
solid
are
on that
numbers.
percentage, though.
Yep.
Because, of course, Relentless is all the time, whereas this, it's not so strong as a Cleanse, because it doesn't remove the CC, it just reduces it. But, again, it's that more making it accessible for newer players kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's no real timing needed. It's not high risk, high reward like Cleanse it. It's pretty low risk. And
And
yeah.
I like
I guess
this.
it's got a lower cooldown too than Cleanse, yeah?
Yeah, it'll have a much
Absolutely.
lower cooldown than Cleanse.
And I really like the fact that you guys brought up Cleanse, because I think Cleanse is so good as a talent in the game right now that
So-
the
two
amount or
heroes.
the number of heroes who actually have access to it is really too low. So I think Cleanse makes supports like Uther and Brightwing really shine, whereas
Yeah.
other supports couldn't even catch up to that. So if you
Yeah,
give
those-
similar mechanics, maybe even not that strong or as strong, but similarly strong, it really makes up for a lot of the weaknesses that you don't have if you don't have, or that you have if you don't have Cleanse.
I guess
Yeah.
that as a counter argument, you could say that Cleanse is so good that it has a tendency to overshadow
Yeah,
other talents.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, previously, especially on Brightwing, you'd contemplate between both of the Gust of Healing and the Soothing Mist.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's more or less Cleanse probably about 75% of the time,
Yep.
if Brightwing's ever played. Like there was a time where Uther Brightwing would be picked in the second rotation,
Yep.
and the enemy team really couldn't do anything because you've got two forms of CC,
Yeah, what are you
and
gonna
you've
do?
got the only two heroes with Cleanse.
Yep. No,
Hey,
there you go.
So yeah,
Wow. Talking about,
yeah, if
double
you can
edged.
tell I'm a support player. Um,
All right.
Yeah. So for my E, I've gone for Patch Up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is straight. The first three words in this is very simple. Heals an ally.
Yep.
Just straight up
Alright.
heals an ally. But this heal is increased by 1% for each 1% of health the target is missing.
Cool.
So again, it's this more scaling heal. Of course, it may not work for Imperius.
You don't want to
because-
heal him. You want to
Yeah, you don't want to heal him. Thinking about him, I really thought the Brightwing would work well because it's that kind of steady heal, consistent
Yeah.
heal throughout a team fight, rather than an Uther or a Rhaegar or something like that.
Oh,
Malfurion
just
might work.
imagine the mindsets clashing together when playing
Yeah.
in a team with Imperius and Lisa Cassidy. Oh my god. The support player playing Lisa would be like, oh my god, I'm gonna get the sickest heal ever. And the Imperius player, don't heal me. What are you
No!
Get out
What
of
are you
here.
doing, fool?
Silence.
he uses his ult on her and sends her into battle.
Yeah, get out of here. That's what you get for healing me. So yeah, that was pretty basic, and this is where the mechanical side of things come in.
Yeah.
So, when you think of medic in StarCraft 2 and competitive StarCraft 2, the first thing you go for is Medivac.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And of course, that's the first heroic I've gone for here. Picking up and dropping off.
Okay.
Cooldown of
Sweet.
Medivac to assist you in battle. Cast again on allies to pick them up, heal them, and then drop them off at target location. Maximum of 2 heroes.
So would you
So-
have two medivacs or one medivac that can carry 2 heroes?
I would say 2 Medivacs here.
Okay.
But what I was thinking about for this is that they are essentially like Reyna's Hellions, so they can be destroyed in
Oh, you mean
transit.
the Raiders? Or the
Yeah.
the Valkyries?
Oh yeah, not Hellions. Yeah,
Yeah.
Banshees.
Banshees.
Yes,
Yeah, not
Banshees.
Valkyries.
Same difference.
Yeah, that's the same thing. So yeah, you can actually destroy them in transit. So say that you're carrying, say that one of your assassins has been caught out of position a little bit too far forward,
Gotcha.
and you pick them up. It'll heal them over the period of their journey, but it could be destroyed, and then suddenly they're being dropped in the enemy's tank line.
Yeah.
Oh, oops. Yeah, you don't want
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah.
could you cast those medevacs, or could you summon those medevacs globally?
No, I wouldn't say globally. I'd say within a range of Lisa.
Gotcha.
Well, maybe that could be a level 20 talent.
That could
Yeah.
be a 20 talent. Like, just
Yeah.
imagine the cool situation. Like, you're fighting on the bot lane, one
Massive
of
split
your
push.
allies gets caught on top lane, and you just send those medevacs over and put or ship them to you.
Yeah.
Right.
So it kind of gives like an ETC style of thing. So you could really go for a 1-1-3 or a 1-3-1 split push situation late game.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly as the enemy team engage, you just bring the 2 solo laners back down. So that, yeah,
I like
they're
it.
just joining you straight in the fight and you just have so much global pressure. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's the more mechanical thing. Again, getting in a bit of micro there because of course you can't be a good Terran without micro.
Without medevacs, really.
Yeah, without medevacs.
Yep.
And now for the second heroic, this is the more team fight orientated one, more healing in the
Gotcha.
kit.
Yeah.
So it's called Restoration. Channel a heal which pulsates across the battlefield or across an area for 5 seconds, healing your allies with each wave and slowing enemies hit.
Okay.
So again, think of Thrall's second ult, which I can't remember what it's called.
Earthquake.
Yep, Earthquake.
Okay.
Obviously not as large or slow as that, but the way I imagined this was that Lisa would be in the position of, say, Tyrael during Sanctification.
Mm-hmm.
So could be interrupted. But 5 seconds, it's a pretty long time. So there'll be one pulse a second or one wave a second, which
Yeah.
then spreads out around Lisa, just kind of oscillates across. And then any enemies that try and disrupt her, they're obviously going to get slowed as they try and approach.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, interesting. So it is channeled in the dirty big sense of channeled. Like she can't move.
Yes, channeled, proper channeled.
Okay. All right.
Or maybe you can also have a talent, maybe on 20, that allows you to move, similar
Yeah.
to Asmodan, right, on his E.
Yeah, or like Hammer Hover Siege, something like that.
Mhm.
Like move at 50% move speed, but yeah, during duration. So you're actually able to reposition. So
And
yeah,
what would it look like? You just
just imagine like waves of green light just
sweet.
pulsating
Okay, yeah,
out.
that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
You more or less got the color right there with the icon.
Yeah, because I wasn't really sure what color you wanted
Yeah.
it to be. So
All right.
So yeah. Also,
So you had to guess the icons.
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
something to do with talents as well. Like I was really thinking of how supports get clairvoyance. Rhaegar has his farsight. I was thinking of
Oh, she could get a scan.
yes, that's what I was
Terran
thinking.
scan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
actually really
Fun.
nice. Just give it,
Scan.
and it'll be
So maybe-
improved, right?
Yeah, so
Similar
like
to
Rhaegar
Rhaegar's,
has
yeah.
Rhaegar has low duration. I think for orbital scan it'd have to be wider range because after all it is orbital.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah, just like small little talents like that.
And I really like these customized talents, right? For example, the
Yeah.
better healing totem from Rhaegar, because it fits him, because he's a shaman, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to be a little bit
Yeah.
stronger than the
Totem.
generic skill, right?
Yeah, it's a shaman
Yeah.
thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would she get anything like that? Maybe a custom. I guess she doesn't get a custom cleanse because she already gets a CC reduction.
Yeah.
Maybe
no, I
you
don't-
could use a talent that turns her cleanse into or CC reduction into a CC immunity, and you could synergize it
Potentially,
with
yeah.
the channel ultimate.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be like around a 16 talent because that'd
Absolutely,
be
yeah.
pretty
Mhm.
strong.
That would be
yeah.
strong, but it would be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that is Miss Cassidy.
Awesome sauce. And I think definitely a hero that many players have not had on the radar, but now that they listen to your concept, they may actually want Lisa Cassidy in the game, because I think it's really interesting to see what guests and what we come up with as concert to champions, right? Because many people forgot about them or didn't have them on their radar, and then you're like, hey, there was a Lisa Cassidy in the game. Sure, let's do that in Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
So yeah.
So that's pretty much it, guys. We're a little
I-
bit
I-
over time, but we're still very fine because we
Yeah,
had.
sorry.
In my opinion, no.
We had a
worries,
good
Oxygen, man.
discussion. We
In
had
my
all
opinion,
sorts of
in my
concepts.
personal humble opinion, we've had the coolest set of heroes in this episode so far. I think everybody did a great job. So thank you, Liquid Oxygen, and Haas a lot for taking the time and being so super creative. I love it.
My pleasure.
So yeah, let's move on to... Oh, do you want to say something?
Yeah, last week's straw poll.
Last week's straw poll.
We
Absolutely.
had another tie.
You caught me a little bit off guard here. So why don't you take a look, Haas, and tell me who won?
I believe I had it up earlier. Let me just find it. We had my Diablo 3 monk coming in last place again.
Oh.
And then we had...
Saying again.
again. And then we had Gul'dan and General Warfield tied for first place again. Guest versus Kendrick tied.
Awesome. So yeah, now that we're talking about the straw poll, guys, if you watch this video and you have a favorite from these 3 hero concepts, then there will be a link in the video description right down there, and it'll have a straw poll link so you can vote for your favorite hero concept. And yeah, let us know, and we will announce the winner in episode 4 next week then. So before we're going to close the show, any shout-outs, Oxygen? Something you want to get rid of?
Shout out to my friends.
Friends.
Yeah, maybe shout out to Mr. Dunktrain for being a really cool counselor.
Yeah, absolutely. I always shout out to Dunktrain every time, so there it is. That's my shout out.
Okay, awesome.
Just Dunktrain. If you watch
just Dunktrain.
Choo choo.
Yeah. You got it. That's the guy.
Yeah, Mr. Haas, shout outs.
Obviously me, myself, and I.
Get out of here. Okay, we're going to close the show now.
Thanks to Kendrick and for hosting as always, and of course Oxy for coming up and smashing my hero ideas out the window yet again. But yeah, Twitter's on the screen for anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you want to tweet at those guys, let them know how cool their hero concepts were. Yeah, there will be all links in the video description as well if you want to reach out to Oxygen or Huss. So don't be shy. Just do it. And we will have another show next week with a very cool guest as well. I won't tell you yet who it's going to be, but a very cool person. So
I'll have to watch then.
Oh, you definitely have to watch that.
Okay. All right.
So,
Guess
yeah.
I'll have to catch up on last episode too, because Golden, I love Golden, and Warfield is someone I was thinking about too.
General Warfield, yeah, exactly. That was my dude. We had Gillyweed. We had Gillyweed for Gul'dan.
I love Gillyweed.
She is an amazing person. We had so much fun.
Can I add a shout out to
Yeah,
Gillyweed?
do it.
Yeah,
I love Gillyweed.
Okay.
Let's go on a date next BlizzCon. Gillyweed.
Oh, you heard it here first, guys. So,
All right.
yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for showing up. Oxygen and Haas, really appreciate it. Awesome performances, awesome hero concepts, and see you next week. Peace out.
See ya.